What a way to go.
Or comments, you don't have to have questions.
You know, somebody does
your own ideas and
describe your
feelings about
favorite
it.
Paul Newman performance.
Well, you talking about him in HUD, where he's playing a not nice guy that you have to fall in love with. That's the curse that you referred to earlier of being a character actor in a movie star's body. You know, a movie star is someone who, no matter what role they play, you're going to love them or they're going to be the hero because that's who they are. But that's not what he was doing. You know, he was acting. He was being a character actor, you know, rather than being a star.
Well, also, I wonder if you were, well, I was talking to somebody last night after The Hustler, and it was one of these moments that, well, why is this a classic movie? You know, and, you know, like I said, look, I can't argue you into liking a movie. You know, you either like it, you don't. But I was trying to get across the idea that in the context of his time, you know, the idea he was a guy who was taking a risk playing an unlikable character, as he did in, you know, HUD. And I think if you were making either Hustler or HUD today, there would be notes from the producers and notes from the advertising department, even like Hustler. Yes, the young woman would try to commit suicide, but she'd be rushed to the hospital just in time, and, you know, Fast Eddie would come in, and she'd be on the hospital visit. Honey, go play Minnesota. You know, I'm absolutely sure that. And sometime in HUD, he would have come to his senses and realized what a great man his father was, or something like that. So, I guess you could make the argument that maybe movies were more grown up in the early '60s than they are now.
Yeah, I mean, and also both those movies, I mean, are so. It's not only Newman. I mean, they're all spectacular. Those are spectacularly well acted movies from everyone who's in them. I mean, Melvin Douglas's that father is unbelievable. HUD, you get HUD.
Do you know how he regarded The Hustler? I mean, did he like the film or?
Enough that you realize that's the only sequel he ever did. I mean, think about that, you know, that the idea that he was so interested in that character that he wanted to play. Newman is a risk taker all of his life. I don't know how many folks remember a book that came out, I believe it was in the 70s, called The Front Runner. And at the time it was quite controversial. It was about a gay track coach and his, you know, affair with a young guy he was teaching to be a track star. And Newman spent, I think, the better part of 10 years trying to get that movie made, and he was willing to play the track coach. And I'm not saying that if Newman would have played a positively drawn gay person in a movie in, you know, the 70s or 80s, then we'd have, you know, same-sex marriage in California now. You know, that would have changed. But I think if Newman would have gotten that movie made at the time he wanted to get it made, I think it might have had a profound effect on a lot of people's, you know, attitude. Because once again, you know, if Newman could play, you know, HUD and make people like him, well, then certainly he could have played a nice guy who just happened to be gay, and then made people challenge their own prejudices.
Yeah.
When you talk about Newman as a director, Rachel, Man Who Marigold, Sometimes a Great Notion, isn't he maybe the greatest Academy Award winning actor to direct? I mean, Lawton and Brando, but
Academy Award winning actor, because, you know, Clint Eastwood has never won the Academy.
Right.
You know,
to actually direct. I mean, I'm thinking of Brando, Charles Lawton.
Yeah.
And maybe some others.
Robert Redford, but Redford's
never won.
No, never won an acting.
But hey, well, what about?
I think he was an exceptional director in many respects, particularly in terms of, you know, a lot of actors who, maybe you disagree with me on this, but, you know, the idea that first time, particularly out of the box, the acting gets, you know, precedence over everything, so that maybe the plot might be weak, maybe the pacing will be off and everything, but every so often an actor will come out and do a great aria or something like that. But Newman, to me, got directing actors, but he also got integrating it into telling a story, the complete package. And I have gotten into, not screaming arguments with people about this, but I think his version of The Glass Menagerie is one of the best film versions of Tennessee Williams, period. And why it's so great is because, you know, usually that character, you know, is always played over the top, you know, this domineering, you know, crazy, you know, eccentric. And he got Joanne Woodward to play her at just, I think, the right pitch, just the right level.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think you know, I don't know that he made, you know, tremendously memorable movies, but they were all, I think, certainly competent. You know, he was, but you know, the interesting thing about him is that a lot about his choices as a director, the material that he gravitated toward was not material that was designed to do anything for him personally. It wasn't, you know, wasn't serving his ego in any of those choices. So I think that's, yes.
I don't remember, did he only direct himself once? Was it Harry and the Son?
I think that's the only one. Not maybe one of the best.
No.
Well, I was going to comment, I guess, and ask a question about the press part. You were saying how Newman's acting style tends to let things kind of happen on their own, that he learned to take a step back. And I'm wondering if that affected a little bit how the press handled him and the tabloids and things like that as well, that he wasn't reproachable maybe because he just sort of allowed those things to happen and didn't try to get the spotlight or didn't have anything that they could really say was wrong with the way he dealt with things.
Maybe, but there's such a the relationship between the press and the people who make movies is so weird and so strange that it's hard to know what's going on or what you're supposed to do and why those tensions exist. I mean, I always felt with guys like Newman, Jack Nicholson, that I would have loved to have been able to know those people, but not as a journalist, because I don't think as a journalist you could ever get to know them. There are some people you feel you do get a real sense of, but not so much with them. And what that reserve is about, I don't, you know, first of all, you know, think of the conditions. You got hundreds of us gathered in one place, and these people are closeted in these badly ventilated hotel rooms, and it's marches one in after another, and you get your 20 minutes, your 30, or whatever the hell it is. They keep shrinking the times now. You know, oh, you could have 10 minutes with Mr. So-and-so. You know, yeah, thanks. But you know, it's an ordeal, and I can understand why a lot of actors don't like to do it, because a lot of journalists don't like to do it, and I was one of them. I never thought it was a lot of fun to talk to people under those circumstances. It was hard. Because if you want to establish, I don't know if you agree with this, but it took me, I would say, to really do an interview. Now I'm not talking about the definitive profile here, I'm just talking about a good interview. You need a few minutes just to be able to sort of establish some sort of connection with the person and to let them know that, you know, you're not there to you know, do them harm. You're genuinely interested in what they have to say. And when things get really pinched and cramped and everybody's nervous around the opening of a movie and you got people hovering and publicists in the hallway knocking on doors, you've had enough time, it's hard to know what people are actually reacting to.
Well, also with Paul Newman, I think Newman over a period of years sort of accumulated this reservoir of goodwill, and it came in